Am I blah, blah, blah?
This happens to me.
Okay. I'm pulling out. Say goodbye to my...
I have a thing with StreamYard that when the status
No,
changes,
wait.
I lose audio.
Dana's
So
gonna
I'm going to
drop
pop out and
and
pop
come
right
back.
back in. I'm so
Ellie,
sorry
you're
I
good.
can't hear.
And we're
I
live.
kill
Hi,
technology.
everyone. I am not
Hi,
really here.
Lawrence. Can you hear me? I just plug
Hey,
my mic back in. You're good?
Yes, you're
Okay.
good. When Dana comes back, I will hide myself and then add her to the stage, which should prevent this whole disaster from happening. So here
Can you hear
I
me now?
go.
Can you hear me now?
Hi, Lawrence.
Hi.
Hi, Ellie. So
Can
sorry
you
that
hear me?
StreamYard hates me. I hear you just fine now.
All right. Well,
Okay.
here I'm going to hide
All right.
myself and we'll see.
Hi, Lawrence. Hi. Yes?
I still can hear.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
if anyone is a StreamYard expert or has experienced troubleshooting this issue, I would welcome your help. It happens like maybe 25% of the time when someone comes or goes from a live, I lose audio and it's just me.
You know what though? Okay.
Yeah.
So I bought my son, because my son does like gaming, which I'm
Yeah.
not super proud of, but whatever.
Yeah.
He has a really, really nice microphone. I have like a little clunky $30 microphone, and it just decides when it wants to work and when it doesn't want to work. And so sometimes it's me.
No, that was definitely the familiar Substack issue, and that's so relatable that your kid has this like
Yes,
state of the art
I
stuff.
know.
And
Well, and it was a money pit too, because I bought him the mic
yes.
and it didn't come with a mic stand, and then it didn't come with a mic cord, and then it didn't come with the, yada, yada, yada. So
Yes.
It's been a little bit of a money pit, but
Of course.
how are you?
I'm so good, and I'm so happy to be here today, Ellie. Thank you. Thank you for welcoming me to the show. I'm always happy when I have a chance to speak with you. And I'm about to do my age-old tradition of welcoming Kira to the show.
Hi, Kira.
Some people have Pavlov's dog. I used to say it was Winterman's dog after Lawrence from the Daily Whatever Show, but it's now whenever she's like, oh, mom's facing the screen and talking in that voice, that means I get plied with treats.
She's right.
And she's right.
How are you?
You know, I'm hanging in there okay.
Yeah.
It has been a week. I feel like all of our weeks in Trump 2.0 are weeks. I'm really excited to talk about this essay, and also I think this essay is part of why I'm exhausted, because I joke sometimes that my essays need to be birthed. They take so long, and the delivery of them is arduous. So I'm immensely relieved and happy with how it came out, and I'm thrilled Blue Amp is elevating it. And also, I think it like kicked my my sleep schedule off for like a week because of the late nights and finishing it.
Surge. Yes, it's a great essay. I reread it last night, so yeah, it's really, really good. Why don't you give us kind of the rundown?
Sure, I would love to. So I have to give Andrew Watkins credit where it's due, because she posted a note a few weeks ago on Substack that was just the United States hates women. And that's a very bold, simple but bold statement. And I read it and I was like, oh my God. Yeah, that's the core of all of the things. My head was so full of all of these seemingly disparate topics that I wanted to write about and talk about regarding women in 2026 in the US. And I was like, that's the unifying theme. And I started working on this essay after I read that. So thank you, Andrea, for the inspiration. But what really kicked it over the finish line and made me finally finish it was the 4th anniversary of Dobbs, which is the 4th anniversary of Roe v. Wade going down. And because I'm me and I'm primarily more of a memoirist than a political journalist sort of writer, I came at it through a storytelling lens that how I found out Roe v. Wade went down is a story in and of itself. It was 2 days after my stepmom died, and she and my dad live and lived in Florida. I'm in Seattle. She had a physical ailment that limited her movement and things, but her mind was fine. My father has dementia, and so he was the opposite, and they were barely holding it together in their home. And so when passed, it was like, oh, I have to get there right away. He
Yeah.
can't be alone. So like this exhausting red eye across the country, sleeping for an hour at my mom's, and then like racing to my dad's house in my mom's car. And I hear the announcement on the radio that Roe v. Wade is no longer the law of the land. My dad and his late wife were both avid Trump supporters and Republicans their whole lives. And I'm like, and I get livid about it anytime I think about it. But here I am in this position where I have to go do a woman's work. I have to go caregive and pull things together to support this man who, in his small way, helped bring this downfall.
Mhm.
And so that became kind of the rallying point of this essay, of like all the ways in which women show up despite what we have going against us, all the ways we are not believed when we raise the flag. And I mean, in 2016, the night of that awful election, I was like, well, Roe v. Wade is gone. And I don't know if you walked around saying that too, Ellie. And so,
Yeah.
I mean, some friends agreed with me and commiserated, but so many people were like, you're being hysterical.
Nah, right.
Nah, Roe
I
v.
know.
Wade
Oh,
is,
yeah.
it's the law of the land. You're going to be fine. You're just, you feminists and your outrageous claims.
Mhm.
None of those people have apologized to me or said,
No.
wow, you were right.
No.
They never will. And
No.
as I see, I think as we all see these other really scary looming just removals of freedom, that's not really
Yeah.
sort of phrase, but as we see all of these issues we're up against with the Repeal the 19th movement getting traction, and access to birth control and to no-fault divorce being questioned,
Mhm.
both online and in real life, I'm hearing the same, like,
Yeah.
you women are hysterical.
I thought it was so interesting. And as a classics major, the fact that I didn't actually know this, that the word hysteria comes from the Greek word
Yes.
for uterus. I thought that was
Yes.
so like astounding, and just like, oh, okay. All right then. Yes, because I mean, I was raised, and not that long ago, it doesn't feel that long ago, but it's been a minute, where I had a more conservative mindset, right? Like I would have been on the very, 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 very pro-life side, no matter what, right?
Really?
But it's been a minute, a good long minute.
If it makes you feel any better, I was really into Ayn Rand because I read The
Yeah.
Fountainhead in high school and was like, this is it. This is my
Right.
life ethos. And then I
Yes.
realized, then I gained experience and was like, oh,
I will say I've never voted for Trump. I voted for Hillary very avidly. I had a
good.
newborn in a backpack or a front pack, and toddler. Like I brought all my kids to go vote on the fairgrounds in Missoula, Montana. But like coming from that mindset of where they just don't think about, it's very black and white to vote against abortion. Like it's
Yes.
just you're killing something or you're not, right? It's none of this conversation about healthcare. It's none of the
Right.
conversation about women of color dying at much higher rates. It's none of the conversation about women in general dying, maternal death being so much higher in the US than most other places.
Right.
And just my own experiences, thankfully I've had relatively like normal birth experiences, but just
Yeah.
just the mindset of the things that women are taught about how we handle pain and what we're supposed to handle, right? I don't know how it was for you, but like I was raised being taught that you should have natural birth, you should feel that pain, you shouldn't ask for medication, you will hurt
Oh my
your
God.
child. And just that we are expected to go through pain without complaint. I have
Yes.
broken bones giving birth to my large-headed children, and I was treated after for those broken bones and told like, well, you just kind of have to just heal from, what I mean? Like,
Oh my
there's
God.
no medicine you can take. You just have to sort of deal with it. And just, I bring up some of these things every day. Like I like to like truth bomb my husband with like a stat every single day when he comes home from work about like,
I love that.
how long we've been able to have bank accounts and like how long,
Right?
Native
1974.
like how long Native Americans have actually been able to be considered citizens versus when they were allowed to actually vote in the US. Like these little
Yes.
truth statements that people don't realize are the
Yeah.
nuance of these things like this, and like women being able to have the right to vote, but when do they actually get to vote? And women, in an example that I give, just the idea of being believed at a doctor,
Mhm.
we had, and a lot of people know this now, but I have one child with epilepsy, and the amount of time it took for the neurologist to believe that she actually had epilepsy when we know what seizures are. Like we're describing
Right.
my child's healthcare, and they said, no, she's sleepwalking. No, she has migraines. And then they thought that she was on opiates. This little
What?
girl with like carrying around Little Women like in her backpack. They thought she was on opiates because
Oh,
she'd had a poppy seed muffin the morning she had a seizure. And so they were determined she was on drugs. It was a drug reaction. Like just all these things that my husband goes to the doctor and he goes, my finger hurts. And they're like, here, take this. You know what I mean? Like it's just such a different world for women in healthcare. And
yes.
that is why this Roe v. Wade matters, because, this isn't women all going out and being like, I keep getting pregnant and this is how I'm dealing with. This is women who want the children that they are pregnant with, but their child will die and their child will kill them, and not the child killing them, but like the health concern that they
Yes.
have is detrimental to the
Hmm.
mother, and that they cannot, even if they've had a miscarriage, they cannot treat the miscarriage in their own state. And they are getting sepsis. They're having to cross state lines. And then the people
Yes.
who are treating them in other states are being threatened with jail time for helping them through a miscarriage. Like it is so, so, so complicated. And people don't realize the statistics that are more these women than the women who are just ending a pregnancy, right? Which is their right, right? That is their right to do
Hmm.
as well. But like that the statistics lean so heavily into women being treated for other things than
Yeah.
just mere, accidental pregnancies. And so it's just really, really frustrating. But I feel frustrated with myself for not knowing that and living through this filter as a very young person and thinking that it was just a selfish act. And of course, we shouldn't have this available to women in the US because it's just selfishness, right? It's not
Mm.
anybody's fault. They should just, and I think so many people still live their life looking through that filter because their sources of information are obviously very biased and don't tell them that
Yes.
women are dying of sepsis from miscarriages. And so I really appreciated this article because it's like
Thank you.
it's so detailed and it explains it so well, what America looks like for women now.
Yeah. The section you're referencing, it starts with Roe v. Wade, right? Because it was the
Right.
anniversary of Dobbs. And it was really hard to cut that section. Like that section's the bulk of the largest part of the
Right.
story. And I could probably write a novel at this point about all of the ways in which the loss of Roe v. Wade is harming women. And I do want to start off by saying that, like, because not enough people are willing to say this, like women are allowed, we have bodily autonomy. And under no circumstances, even if it is simply, I got pregnant and I don't want to be pregnant,
Mm-hmm.
you don't need a reason beyond that. We are not here to carry babies only.
Right.
We have bodily autonomy. But then to keep going from that, because I do feel the need to say that as the feminist killjoy that I am, that will be an unpopular opinion with many, but it is still the truth. Like nobody says you have to go donate a kidney because people will die if they don't have a kidney. Like we
Yeah.
have bodily autonomy. We don't need to carry a baby if we don't want to.
Mm-hmm.
And I do want to say that because we always tend to go to the medical situations. So
Right.
putting that down, people have not thought through what it means that we have these draconian laws now in, so I don't have the number of states in front of me. I think it's 20 maybe, where abortion is basically all but illegal, if not outright
Right.
illegal. And what that means. And the story that I outlined here, let me pull up her name because I don't have it. It's Emily. I will find it here. Emily Waldorf. This is a woman in Arkansas, already a mom. She has a preschool age child, or the child was preschool age when this happened, and was 17 weeks pregnant and collapsed in the shower, bleeding. She was miscarrying at 17 weeks. Went to the hospital where she worked in Arkansas to get health care, and was told, like, this is not a viable pregnancy any longer. You're miscarrying, but the baby still has a heartbeat. There's nothing we can do.
Yeah.
There's nothing we can do. She sat in that hospital for 5 days. And this is because we have to bring race up. A white woman, a woman who possibly likely voted Republican based on her demographics. They had direct access to Sarah Huckabee Sanders. They contacted the governor's office along this 5-day path to try anything to get her care. And the medical staff said, you should have voted, tell your friends to vote differently, which is a cruel thing to say. And also, I totally get it, because if they had proceeded to give her the very simple medical care she needed, which was a DNC, I believe, just to clear out what's left, because the baby was in no way viable, they faced $100,000 fine or years in prison. I understand why even though they took a Hippocratic oath, they couldn't proceed. That's a very high bar, right? And what it became this race between, will the heartbeat stop or will she go septic? Because once she was actually septic, they could act, because then it's life-threatening. But sepsis is real and serious, and there's a very strong chance you'll die if you're in sepsis. So that bar is unacceptable. And just because you've been pregnant before, like, I intentionally made it a bit visceral, that on day 4 in the hospital, like, passed a gigantic blood clot into the toilet and just started leaking amniotic fluid. Like, her water broke, and she just sat there, like, the life force that was keeping her baby alive just streaming out of her. And once that happens, your odds of sepsis skyrocket, because it's no longer sealed, right? There's a reason that there is.
So once the amniotic fluid is out, everything is, that is the life-saving sterile environment for the mother and the baby.
Exactly. And they still wouldn't act. And after 5 days, they finally got a lawyer who gave her a statement that she had to say of the care she was refusing, so that she could get in an ambulance and cross all these rural roads for 4 hours, not knowing if she was going to hemorrhage and die on the road, to get to Kansas, where they were willing to treat her. And she still almost died because of how delayed the treatment was. So this is one way. And this is a woman who wanted this baby, who is now fighting to have the law removed, but she was dumbfounded of, like, how could this be happening to me?
Right.
And it's like, why don't you have the imagination to see that this could happen to you before it actually happens to you? That's that empathy gap, right? Of, like,
we've lost empathy in the US. Like, we cannot step into anybody else's shoes and imagine.
We really have. And then on top of that, with all of these states passing these laws, OBGYNs are leaving, and there are these just vast wastelands where there is no care. And I had a fascinating conversation with Dr. Emishia Connor, on Substack. She is an OBGYN who has this whole nonprofit that's addressing many of these issues. But her point is, doctors in medical school are in great numbers opting out of OB work, simply because it's too fraught. If they provide, and they can't provide the care they know they need to give to save women. And she's like, that's a 15-year pipeline that we're blocking. And so, as scary as things are now, talk to us in 5 to 10 years. She was like, most of the OBs that I know are in their 40s and older. And so they're like, no one is doing the math of how that is impacting women who want babies.
And it's really, I mean, where do I go with this? We're going backwards, obviously, statistically, with maternal death and detriment and birth rates. We're going backwards. Yes. We do not have the stats of a first world country, which is very interesting.
Yep.
You know, and with private healthcare, when everywhere else seems to have socialized medicine. But also, you know, when you look at statistically, not even statistically, like you look at what happens to these OBGYNs should they break the law, they get a stiffer sentence, a longer sentence and bigger fines than if somebody rapes a child and impregnates them. They will get a much shorter sentence, which is interesting.
If they get any at all.
If they get any at all, yes.
And sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. You were
no. Go ahead. There. I'm thinking my other thoughts, but yeah, go ahead.
The essay carries on from there, and it leads with Roe v. Wade and this case in Arkansas as a living example of what we're up against. And the theme that comes through it is this, like, we're called hysterical, we're never believed. And I then move through these other issues as I touched on, like no fault divorce and birth control and the right to vote, and how these issues are being socialized right now. There's legislation coming, but there's also the more insidious factor, which is the culture war that's happening. And how, I mean, Erica Kirk just had her whole Turning Point USA conference a few weeks ago that was blatantly just anti-feminist, was what it was called. And they had all these women on camera. I linked to one of them in this story, being like, well, I'd be okay with losing my right to vote because I trust my husband's vote. And if it gets rid of abortion, I don't mind that. And like the minute though that, so the day that the SAVE Act got voted down, which, you know, that shit's going to come back, right? But the day that it got voted out of the Senate was the 107th anniversary of women getting the right to vote, white women getting the right to vote. And I posted about that on Substack and said, constant vigilance, our freedoms, let's honor these women who fought and keep fighting. And I mentioned repeal the 19th, and almost immediately the men came out. And there was a man who was like,
Dana.
I have sisters and daughters. Does anyone really seriously think women are going to lose the right to vote? Yes, I do.
Yes, they're already making it, I mean, without repealing the right to vote, they're already making it harder for women to vote, right? They can do it in other means and say, like, well, if you've changed your last name, we're going to make it more difficult. Not everybody can go get their marriage certificate. Yes. So they may not repeal it in so many words, but they will repeal it in other ways.
100% through the legislation. But then they can also socialize this idea of repeal the 19th. I've been on the internet a long time as an outspoken woman, and the insults that would generally come back from the commenters were around my looks. Like, you know, you're too old, you're too fat, you're too ugly, you're can I say the F-bomb? You're unfuckable. These are the insults that were usually coming back. More times than not now, repeal the 19th is what comes back. This idea is being heavily socialized in right-wing masculine spaces and in tradwife spaces now, because this is that women are both being told, don't worry, if you, by the same source, Erica Kirk in this case, in her whole world, don't worry if you can't afford babies, we're underbabied, go make babies. And also, why should women really need to vote if their husbands are voting, head of household vote? These issues are all tied together, and they are all about controlling women. And then where the story goes from, in my essay, goes from here is then into two far more violent and scary things, one of which, neither of which are being punished by law. And the first one you're deeply familiar with. We're watching the Epstein files roll out in real time. We're mostly watching it being reported by independent journalists who are mostly women like you, Ellie. And we're seeing atrocity after atrocity after atrocity. And these women are coming forward and are at great risk to themselves, sharing the horrors of the worst things that have happened to them, and utter impunity for the men who perpetrated the crimes. And and then the second example I layer on this is a story on CNN that CNN broke a couple months ago about the Motherless website and the community of men who were drugging and raping their wives, filming it, posting it to their little social group of friends on Motherless with tags like wait, I don't want to get the tag right. Sleep porn, but also eye check, because that's what they called it when they would open the eyes and make sure these women were drugged. And for those who haven't heard the story, because it's shocking how many people I talked to who did not see this expose on CNN, there were the website at the time had 62 million views in February. Men went ballistic because people on social media were saying 62 million men. And a lot of men came back screaming about how we didn't understand math. I don't care if it's 62 million men or 62 million. Yeah, 62 million views.
Yeah.
The facts are there were 20,000 videos on the site with these tags. There was a community of at least 1,000 men who were actively engaging with one another, buying the drugs to drug their wives. And the site got taken down after that for a few days. It then came right back up. And there was no news in the US about it coming back up. I could only find it on one Dutch website because the company that's hosting it is a Dutch company. And they came back with some like, oh, well, we've got guardrails now. And it was mostly the community is policing it. We have buttons.
Oh yeah,
to report
community notes.
Right. Like a community that's focus is drugging and raping women. It's going to report when there's a video.
And I have to say, I'm just going to say something really quick.
Yeah.
1,000 men do not equate to 62 million clicks. So it's not just 1,000 men who are in there clicking that many times. Like there are many, many, many people who are participating in this on some, even a small level, who know about it, right? If you're clicking on it, you know about it.
Yes. And the 62 million page views was for the full, this is another thing that men are coming after me and other women and online. The 62 million is page views to the entire site, which is all up porn. So not all of them were going to this eye check porn, but there were 20,000 videos with it. And a substantial, I don't know what percentage of the 62 million were going. I do know that there was a 30% lift in traffic the following month after the expose, after the site went back up.
I'm sure if it's a website that supports that type of pornography, if you want to call it that, that the people who are watching other videos are not there for like good quality reasons, you know?
Right, ethical porn, right? Where the women are having pleasure and the participants have all consented to the act.
Yeah.
It's I wrote another essay about this. I don't have the link in front of me and I wish I did, but I talked about the like why this hit women so hard. And I do want to speak to it here. Of course it's an atrocity that this is rape. It's called porn or sleep porn, but the women were not asleep. They were drugged, and it's not porn. It's rape. These women did not, and many, many, many of them, I have to think, still do not know this happened to them. Like, that's the crazy thing is I'm like, I could be in one of those videos. Like these were all or mostly filmed by the partners of these women. And so I kind of sat with that for a while of like, why are so many of us having such a like crazy visceral reaction to this? And here's why. I think rape is usually seen as an access issue. Men don't have access to women's bodies. And so they use drugs or alcohol or sheer brute force or weapons to gain access and to rape this woman, right? That's what we classically think of when we think of rape. But these men had access, right? These were their wives and their girlfriends. And so I think the reason why this this crime resonates with a certain subset of men is it's the ultimate degradation of women. Like there's no bigger example of how much they hate women that they're like, we don't just want to see a woman being violated, but we want to see a woman being violated in the place and with the person she trusts the very most.
Yeah.
She's at home in her own bed. In the case of one of the women who came forward and shared her story, her husband was making her evening tea and was grinding the meds into the tea. But she thought she was being comforted by her husband and drinking tea to fall asleep, right? There is no greater act of showing how much you hate all women than taking it out on the woman who you were supposed to love and respect and care for your whole life and violate her, and then share it with other men against her knowledge or consent. You have reduced her to, like, you've literally removed her consciousness and humanity, degraded her the worst way you can, and then you're sharing it as a badge of pride. Like, I can't think of a deeper expression of utter hatred for women than that. And that's why, like, we haven't taken all those steps in our head, but our bodies are reacting to that.
This feeds very much into a culture of men that a lot of people don't know about. And that is the incel culture. Whereas these men have partners, the people who are watching probably do not, right? That is probably why they're there. And there is this huge culture of something called incels, which are involuntary celibates, which are young men who have decided to be celibate for life because they believe they cannot get a partner. And so they create this violent, misogynistic culture around women, and one of those is Nick Fuentes. He's an example of that. You know, and when you look at a lot of these sort of like mass shootings and different you know, crimes that happen around the US that are very public, you will find that the young white man, right, because that is pretty much always how it works, ends up being part of the incel culture. And so I ask people to look really deeply into that, because that infiltrates like suicide culture, like these pro-suicide websites that encourage people to off themselves, that it infiltrates the rape culture, that infiltrates the whole podcast right-wing culture that is like really dominant in young men's lives and where they get their information. It is humongous, and people don't know that it exists. Like, it is the basis for a lot of the rape culture in America. And I just ask people to go look it up and educate yourself about it.
100%. And as you were saying that, Ellie, I'm like, oh yeah, I forget, because I'm kind of enmeshed in this world, that not everyone is familiar with that term and that culture.
Yes.
And you said young men, and I'm like, yeah, but this culture's been around a while. Like,
yes,
these are men who are aging into power because of who is leading now. I will never forget that as soon as Trump got elected, an emboldened Nick Fuentes said, "Your body, my choice." And that went everywhere. Could there be 4 more harrowing words, right?
Yeah. And I don't think that these men, when you think of like Elon Musk, I don't think just because he has 14 kids and all these partners, he is an incel. He is a person who has paid for those relationships on his own. He cannot, based on his personality and his looks, he couldn't get a woman if he didn't have billions and trillions now of dollars. He is an incel. He's a perfect example of what an incel is.
Right. To be clear, he could have found a woman or a partner if he had been a kind, decent human.
Which is all of these men, right?
The incel community will have you believe that, what is it, the whole 666, if you're not 6 feet tall, 6 figures and a 6-pack, you're not going to get a woman. But also, who are the women they're valuing? You may not get a super hot woman if you are not also super hot. That's kind of how our culture works. But to state that men can't find women to date or marry or have sex with or whatever, simply because they don't have the 666, that it's like, no, you're not getting access to women because you talk like that. And we're all like,
there's a lot of very, very happy men out there with little beer bellies that are in lovely relationships because they're happy, right? That's usually a sign you're happy, right? Little gut.
Right? Yeah, right. I would say most of the people I know who are happily partnered do not fit the qualifications of 666, right? Like, it's not reality. That's not what most thinking people are looking for. Of course, we all want to be with someone we're attracted to, but like attraction is not simply about these things. And with such hatred coming up for women through all of the paths I mentioned in this story and so many more, like, of course, young women are reticent or outright like, oh, hell no, I can't get anywhere near this. The men are growing increasingly more conservative. The women are growing more in younger women. Sorry, my vocabulary. In younger generations, especially, the women are becoming more liberal, the men are becoming more radicalized and conservative, and then they're yelling about why we're underbabied.
Which I heard a really good point the other day, that underbabied culture and idea is just being pushed on white women. It's not being pushed on Black women.
Of course.
And so that idea of being underbabied is a very white supremacist take, because they want more white babies. They don't care about babies of color. They're not going out and saying, you guys need to have more babies. They're only saying that to white women because that's the culture that they want.
Yeah, that's they can look ahead and see the math and be like, oh, and I forget what year, 2040 something, I think, white people will be in a minority in the US.
Yeah. Oh no.
And they are trying to avoid that. My last essay for Blue Amp a month ago was about this idea of underbabied. And I just put that link in the chat as well, that of how absurd it is with everything that's going on. And the US Hates Women story was a follow-on on the underbabied one. That I was like, wow, the common thread running through all of this is just hatred and oppression. And the more you say it, the more you're told you're being hysterical. So I'm a tough old broad. You want to tell me I'm hysterical? Okay.
I know. I kind of love it when people say that to me, because I'm just like, okay, so now I know about you, right? Like, I think it was I think Michael Wolff said I was being hysterical, and I was like, oh
honey.
Okay. Oh, brother.
You are probably like the least hysterical person I know. Ellie. You are just like the calm, even dealing with some like pretty big issues, and you're just at least outwardly, you're very, very calm about it.
I go punch a few walls before bed, so.
At least metaphorically, we all do, right? We're like, okay. Or if you're me, you're like keyboard warrior. I have to get all this down and.
Yes.
And one of my other favorite writers, who I'm sure does this on her keyboard as she writes, is Rachel from This Woman Votes. Did you like my segue there?
That was good.
She wrote one of the reference stories that I used when writing my essay, and it's specifically about motherless. And so we've invited her to join us. Should we bring her on? Because she is brilliant. And I'm going to I do want to give a shout out to Karen Marie Shelton in the chat, who has been moderating for us. Thank you, Karen. You are amazing. And I know you have the link for Rachel's article if you wouldn't mind sharing it. I also know sometimes, like all of us, we get booted out of the chat when we have lots of action, and there's lots of that going on today. So I'm going to put Rachel's. Oh, there you were, Karen.
I did. I wasn't sure. I was like, oh, wait, do I press the button? Okay.
Hi, hello.
Rachel. Hello, Rachel. Welcome.
Hi.
So nice to meet you.
It's great to meet you.
You never met?
I've never met.
We've never met.
Oh my gosh.
We've never met.
Ellie, let me do my
beginning of a great friendship right here. In this moment.
I definitely have commented on a number of Ellie's pieces. I think that, the work that she's doing on the Epstein stuff is just incredible. The fact that we are here having to rely on journalism instead of an actual justice system is.
I know. I always say a blogger.
Wild.
Like, you're going with the bloggers on this. Okay. I mean, we'll do it, but really.
No. I feel like there's a level of integrity inherent in the legitimacy that comes from being called a journalist, and you are doing journalistic quality work. So I say own that shit.
All right. I'm working on it.
I in the chat, I am putting a link to Rachel's Substack at This Woman Votes, because Substack now is a jerk and will only allow 3 entities on a live. So Ellie and Blue Amp and I are on here, and Rachel, you have joined through StreamYard, but
Okay.
I put the link here. You all, if you are not already subscribed to Rachel, please subscribe. And I would say the same about me and about Ellie. If you're somehow not subscribed to us, we would welcome your readership. But Rachel, well, you're incredible with words. You're an incredible
Thank you.
narrator. And you came to me several weeks back as I was, procrastinating writing this story, trying to make room in my like overpacked brain and life to
Yeah.
sit down and focus on it. And you have written an essay here that is called The Rape Academy and the Law That Said Not Our Problem. So
Yep.
the Rape Academy is what CNN called this motherless case that we're talking
Yep.
about. They specifically said it was an online rape academy, which bravo to CNN, who don't always do a good job showing up. The legacy media in general does not. They went for it
CNN
with this essay.
UK. See it, just to be clear.
Okay.
CNN
That is fair.
Let's assign credit where credit is due. That is not American CNN. That is CNN UK.
Oh my God, I didn't even know
CNN
that.
is still pretty weak sauce.
Oh,
Yes. Okay, that
God,
actually makes more
Rachel.
sense.
I didn't notice that in the URL, and that makes
No,
me so
it's okay.
angry.
That's
I was
okay.
giving them credit. All right. So this for CNN's US.
Yeah.
So actually for 30 seconds first, Rachel, why don't you introduce yourself, kind of who you are on Substack, and then I want to dive into this story that you wrote. And Ellie, I'm sorry I'm taking over. I'll step back
do
too.
it. I'm good.
So I write This Woman Votes. I kind of started this off as an exercise of breaking down Project 2025 and writing what should be what I consider a progressive response to that. And then I just started writing about a whole host of other things that I felt needed some highlighting. And it, for me, I'm usually breaking down the intersection between capital extraction, because that was literally my job. So sort of pointing out, this is what labor arbitrage really does, and that sort of thing, as well as how we're legislating, how these systems work. And then I write a fair amount about AI because I work in AI. I was chatting in the comments under my business account, which is just Rachel Marin. If you really want dry AI related businessy, this is not how customer experience should work sort of stuff, you can go over there. But on This Woman Votes, I write a lot more of sort of the intersections of how we legislate things, how systems get enforced within these legislative situations, and then how that impacts humanity. We are regularly seeing significant degradation in human rights, women's rights. They are being stripped away as fast as they possibly can. And it's all just one attack surface after another. And so that's what I talk a lot about, which isn't really fun or entertaining. And I'm so sorry.
Right. It's a real,
I'm not humorless. I just sound like it on Substack.
Yeah, you are not humorless, but these are not funny topics. You have a great sense of humor. So this story, The Rape Academy and the Law That Said Not Our Problem. You're writing about Section 230 that was written for the internet back in the 90s. Can you educate us? Because I was not familiar with Section 230 until I read your story. So can you explain for the folks at home what it is and what its impact is on cases like this online rape academy on motherless.com?
Sure. So the way that it works, in 1996, Chris Cox and Ron Wyden, I'm in Oregon, so Ron Wyden is my guy. They wrote the Communications Decency Act. The irony that this is the act that is allowing for people to get away with this is incredible. But within Section 230, basically what it does is it gives the content, the platform, fairly broad immunity for what gets uploaded into their system. So this made sense in 1996. They wanted to grow platforms. They wanted to grow the internet. They wanted to do a whole host of things. And, you know, one of the points that I made in my article is that in 1996, we didn't have a good understanding of sort of the scope of depravity that exists in humanity. We just didn't. We needed the internet to show us how deeply depraved humanity can be. And so this tool that was meant to grow the internet and enable that growth and protect platform makers has turned around and done incredible damage, because what it creates is this environment where the platform itself can't be held accountable. But then outside of that protection, what you have, because you are essentially taking local laws and applying it to a global technology, you've got this situation where, in the case of Motherless, they were hosted in the Netherlands. They were a company out of
Costa Rica.
Costa Rica.
Yeah.
And so what they do is it's just a shell game. They just move things around. They move their hosting. They move where they're publishing from, and it's just like this ability to completely circumnavigate any level of accountability across the board. And it is that enabling of the circumnavigation that Section 230 absolutely explicitly provides. And lots of countries haven't even legislated this. You know, in most European countries, this wasn't even illegal, right? And Amanda Stanhope in particular, she had to go. One of the victims that is specifically from the CNN article, she had to go to the police for 5 years with video evidence. And the police were like, you could be faking it. That's the entire point of the iCheck hashtag, is because what they do is they go on this site and they do this lifty thing with the eyeball to show that the person they're about to rape is unconscious and not just faking it or not just sleeping. And so she went, it took her 5 years to get any action against her former partner. And then he took his own life. So not great. No justice, really. I mean, he's not on the planet. He's not continuing to do it. But like her daughter I had a friend traumatized. Go ahead.
Oh, I had a male friend who read the article, came back and was like, "Is that really no justice that he's dead?" Because in my story, I mentioned that.
Feel like
that
justice.
I was like,
it feels like an easy way out, right?
You know, his point was like, he's gone. Isn't that kind of the ultimate justice? Is it cruel to ask for more? And I'm like,
was it cruel to be raped in your sleep?
Right.
He didn't suffer.
He didn't suffer. He went out the way he wanted to, I guess. So
he had agency and he took her agency is what it comes down to.
Yes. Oh, that's
right.
Thank you, Rachel. This is why I love reading your work. You just helped put into words what my brain has been like, because he said it to me and I was like, that's a good point. I hear you. I'm like, why is it still not sitting right? That's it exactly.
That's what it is.
He took her agency, and for his own punishment for doing that, he chose his own path.
Right.
He didn't have anything done to him against his will. And that's why, I mean, I'm not inhumane. I get it. He that was the ultimate awful act he could do. But like, what harm also did that do to, I'm sure she is carrying a guilt around that.
She's carrying a guilt. Her daughter is devastated by this. Like the whole, and I think that what she's doing in her endicheck.org, which I would ask everyone to go to the website, sign up, like what she's doing in sort of taking her agency back and taking her power back in talking about this, it requires a level of just absolute, like the grit that this woman has to come back from that experience. Like it's just such a deep betrayal to know that someone you were lying next to. Like, and you wake up the next morning, like kind of confused, your t-shirt's on backwards. You don't know what the fuck happened to you.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to swear so much, but
I think it's okay.
like, and then the man that you went to bed next to is sleeping like a baby right next to you. And, you know, and he's a little richer for it because he's charging $20 a man to watch you be raped. Like, this is when I say this is industrialized rape, that is not hyperbolic. Like, there are men who have created a supply chain to support raping women in their sleep. There's a guy that can get you the drugs. There's a guy that's going to show you how to shoot the video. There's another guy. There's a website that's going to publish it, and they're going to take a little slice of the pie. Like, I don't think that's hyperbolic at all. This is industrialized rape. This is the business of rape. It is.
Rachel, I'm going to stop you right here. I think you're being a little hysterical.
Sorry, I didn't mean to get hysterical about it, but like.
I'm sorry, I couldn't resist. You're just being a little hysterical right now. Have you considered meditating?
Take a chill pill maybe, or I don't know, fix a tea.
Self-care, hashtag.
It just, I was reading this article about the use of rape as a tool of war in Sudan, and this is going on like today, right? Where, and this happens frequently in situations of genocide. It happened in Rwanda extensively, where rape is a tool of war.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The actual thought of all of that, the removing women's agency, everything that they are doing today, post Roe, repeal our vote, it's all about removing our agency. It's all about making us second-class citizens. And it's not an American problem. This is a global problem, but we can affect what's happening here in the US, and that's what we need to do.
Yeah, I write this in the essay of, okay, I know people are going to hear this, the United States hates women, and be like, but what about, and list a bunch of other countries where things are harder. I'm like, yes, for sure. And also, we're supposed to do better. We're supposed to lead. Yeah. In this regard, we are supposed to be a democracy.
We're the greatest country on earth. What are you talking about?
Right? Like, Team America, fuck yeah, right?
Fuck yeah.
So, now you have been in touch with we kind of went all around about endicheck.org. I want to pause and first of all, thank you, Karen, for putting the link in the chat so many times. This is my understanding is this is an advocacy group, a nonprofit founded by two victims who also came forward in the CNN story and shared their story at great personal expense, of course, because no one hears this and is like, oh, these women are, let's make their lives easier. You know that these women have been put through it. Their kids have been put through it. And in spite of all that, they came forward. One of them, her husband killed himself, as you said. The other is serving time. So these are women who did everything that they could and who found out about it, unlike many of the women who are on tape. But can we talk for a moment about endicheck.org? Because I believe you have been personally in touch with Amanda and Zoe, correct?
Yeah, I've talked to Amanda a few times about it, and it's part of the reason that I'm sharing her stuff all the time. She's not as active on Substack. She's pretty active over on TikTok. So every time she publishes a video on TikTok, I share it on Substack. I think that we have tools and platforms that we're all really good about, and so that's why I cross share a lot of stuff. I
really need to get on TikTok, don't I? I've been fighting it for a long time.
You don't. It's
do
really.
You enjoy going to bed at 3 a.m. because that will be what happens.
I already do.
Look, part part of the thing about TikTok, and I touch a little bit about it on the article, is that algorithms didn't exist in 1996 at the level that they exist today. So that wasn't included. The ability to organize and make data so findable didn't exist. And so the ability to get the word out, being able to use these algorithms and use them, the platforms, to fight against what platforms are enabling is kind of why I'm cross-sharing, why I'm talking about it, why I'm exhorting at the top of my lungs for people to just sign up, engage. This is the shittiest, most uncomfortable topic to talk about, but 50% of the people on this fucking planet are dealing with it. And it's the man that's sleeping next to you. And my own relative said to me, but this is a UK problem. This is a Europe problem.
No.
Oh, baby. No.
Most of the web traffic for Motherless is US based traffic.
Yes.
They did disclose that in the CNN story.
Yeah.
So that is completely false.
Yes.
And I quote
100%.
this in my story, and CNN used the quote as well, that I think it was Zoe, but one of the two women, when speaking out to family, even though they were empathetic, they said, yeah, but it's just your husband.
It's just your husband.
It's not like you were abducted in an alley, as if that makes it okay. It makes it 1,000 times worse.
It makes betrayal 1,000 times worse.
Yes.
So, as I said a little bit earlier, this wasn't even illegal in most European countries, right? There was just actually a significant law that was written. I think it passed last week in the EU to stop not just rape, but also coercive rape. There was like this dividing line where you had to prove that it was forceful rape. And I think that when you look at all of the laws that exist today, and even when people frame it in their own heads, when men look at this and say, well, it's probably not rape, but then there's like this thing that has to go on in a man's head that says, wait a minute, if that's rape, I might be guilty of rape, therefore that's not rape. Right?
1,000%. Yes.
Because that's what, like, if and you know, I've had a lot of these conversations with a lot of men, because the reality is that the corollary of a woman looking at this and saying, well, that's not rape, because if that's rape, I've been raped, therefore I'm a victim. And 100%. So they're directly connected to how humans frame their own self-image. Mm-hmm. And if we don't really break down this conversation, I read an article about it was just yesterday on Substack about the girl at Columbia that carried her mattress around. Right.
Oh, what a hero. I mean,
like, and the frame of the article that I read on Substack was, well, she wasn't raped. She texted him afterwards. And I feel like what you're thinking about is how you're thinking about it is wrong. Any instance of non-consensual activity should be considered rape. And even if and there are many instances where women stay in that dynamic because they don't have a choice, they can't leave. There's a whole host of reasons why that happens, but there's also significant risk for them leaving. There's significant risk for them doing anything at all about it. I wrote a piece a couple weeks ago about a young girl who was trafficked. She was 15 years old. And she killed the man she was being trafficked to. And she got charged. She got sentenced. She got sent to jail. She escaped jail. They sent her to Atlanta. She escaped again. And they're treating this child like she was a criminal when all of this happened, when the reality was, sure, she snapped. Sure, she did stab him 30 times. But she had been systematically raped for
Good.
years.
Yeah.
And like,
Oh
and
my
we're putting
God.
this child in jail because the legal system only sees stranger danger. It does not see people living steeped in that environment. And so, you know, the entire legal system only accepts a woman defending herself if someone jumps out from behind the car and
Right.
you know, you react. And even then, if you pull out a gun, like women are significantly more likely to go to jail for defending themselves, even in a stranger danger situation, than men will. Stand your ground does not protect you as a woman. It only protects men.
White
Yeah.
men.
And so,
And women who cry rape, women who say that their child has been sexually abused by a partner are
Yep.
more likely to go to jail for it and lose their children to a custody battle to the person who abused their child.
Really?
yes.
Statistically, oh my God. That makes me want to vomit.
I put out a piece. I put out a couple pieces a few weeks ago about. You know, I mean, they did the movie The Burning Bed. Did you ever see that movie?
Oh my God, the Farrah Fawcett movie?
Farrah Fawcett movie. That was a real story. That whole thing, that whole story of how she ended up going to jail because she set the bed on fire. Like that whole story is just one example of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of examples. And there was a recent study that was done by, I think, Stanford that said like 92% of women in jail are victims of domestic violence. Now, how they wound up in jail, that varies pretty wildly, but it is significant. I also read another sort of a scientific study that was tying together domestic violence with the preponderance of, or the disproportionate amount of women that get Alzheimer's than men.
Really?
They were making pretty well-founded tie between taking shots to the head in a domestic violence situation. Yeah. Also, women's brains and CTE and women's brains and concussions react very differently. So they were tying directly sort of the violence that women experience to Alzheimer's, which was, in my opinion, they didn't have high enough numbers for me to say, nope, that's 100% accurate, but I feel like it maybe is directional and they should definitely do some more science on it. But
I'm sure they're going to be eager to fund studies that are women.
Ain't nobody funding that study. Ain't nobody funding that study.
Didn't even get into that in this story and my multiple week.
Sorry, I took you way off on a tangent. That's just what I do. I write that way. I talk that way. It is who I am.
Rachel, it was all amazing. And it was all related to the core thesis here of like the United States hates women.
Yeah.
It's a terrible thing to have to say.
I would love to argue against it. I really would. I really would love to have a single cohesive argument that's like, no, Dana, you're wrong.
And here's why.
Look,
I'm waiting for this story to hop the wall. I always call it like the red-blue divide in Substack.
Right.
Because you know there's a whole universe that like if this hops over, that I am going to have people jumping all over me. And I would kind of like it to happen with this story. So if you all could restack it and say like really incendiary true things, let's make this jump the wall so that Ellie and Rachel and I can have fun.
You can link Andrew Tate to it in the
so
comments.
I can be a real so I can be a real mean ass bitch in your comment section.
That's exactly what I want to have happen. This would delight me. This is what joy looks like for a woman like me in 2026. I do think Substack has put up like stronger walls because I haven't had a story do that in a long time. Have you two found that as well?
I get the occasional turf, and which I shut down immediately because I got no patience for turfs. But you know, my kids when they and all my kids are adults. My youngest is 29. And my kids always say, "Release the Kraken," because I am a
Well, go put it. Go
fucking
link it
menace.
on. Go get a Twitter account and go link it on Twitter, and then you will get your feedback that you're looking for.
You know what? I'll share it on Twitter because I have a Twitter account. No
Oh, please do.
followers, by the way. But if you want a real shithole of an experience, Twitter is there.
I left Twitter.
Yep.
I was a very early adopter, and I left it a long time ago. But
Yeah.
Ellie, I feel like you put Rachel and me on a live, and we're like,
No, I have listened. I'm just learning. I'm soaking it all in. I'm a little sponge here, so this is good.
I am a menace. So
just we love you.
It is what it is. This is who I am.
No. Rachel, if you could let Amanda and Zoe know that if they ever do feel comfortable coming on Substack and doing a live, I would love to help elevate their voices. I think they are the bravest humans out there. Like,
I gave them all of your contact information. I shot them over you and Ellie and Andra Watkins and any elevation that we could get to icheck.org would be fantastic. Go sign up, follow or, subscribe to Amanda and Zoe on Substack.
I didn't know they were on Substack. I will find and subscribe for sure.
I think I linked, I linked Amanda. Can I drop it in the chat? Do you mind if I do that?
Yeah.
No, please do. Please do.
I don't know. My screen is completely frozen, so I'm not sure if the chat will work. But
it will not work if it's frozen. So hit refresh or open a new browser. Substack can't keep up with us. We have such an active chat that it crashes things. So
good.
That is so funny.
I see this as Sharon Dubois in the chat. Hello.
It crashed in the worst possible way, where my face is just me making.
I love when that happens. When you're
making the most awful judgy face. Oh, my whole damn browser crashed. Everything crashed. Shit.
In Substack.
Okay.
Yeah, Karen said the chat has crashed 6 times on her today.
Let me see if I can re-enter. Because I do want to get Amanda as much traction as we possibly can.
We can put them in the notes, like they're when we post this live, we can also put their Substacks in the notes.
And I see Scott McFarland has joined the chat. Hello. We are at the very end of our live, and
Hi, Scott.
We definitely need more voices elevating these topics, especially male ones. So
better late than never, Scott.
Yeah, we're
glad you're
here. Yes, thank you. Did you get to put those links in the chat, Rachel?
I'm dropping them from my business account, so it says Rachel Marin, not Rachel at This One Votes.
Yes, thank you for sharing the victims' Substacks. That sounds weird, the victim Substacks, but definitely follow endicheck.org. I'm thinking about pitching, I'm thinking about the contacts I know outside of Substack from some of the freelance writing I'm doing.
Yeah.
I find it so upsetting that I cannot find a US news source talking about motherless, talking about endicheck.org and these victims. CNN did that great story at CNN UK.
Yep.
And they then did a follow-up and said that the site was taken down. That site went right back up. I did notice when I wrote my story, which I will put in here one final time, that it was down again. I checked as of yesterday, it was down. I don't know why though. I can't find that online. So maybe we need to put our heads together, and I'm going to pitch this of there's a real story here, and why are we not going after these men? They have logins to the website. They are filming themselves having sex with their drugged up wives. Surely they are identifiable.
So
why are we doing nothing?
So the other thing that I just want to throw out there is, and God knows, if I die, someone should absolutely clear my browser history.
Fair.
But same, right? If you just Google sleeping rape story, Motherless doesn't even come up in the list, but what does come up is a whole lot of other providers that provide the same content. They call it non-con somnophilia. They call it all sorts of other things. But when you assign a name to it, right, somnophilia, it assigns a legitimacy to it.
Yes, it does. It makes it sound very scientific.
It sounds very scientific. And non-con, what does that mean? Well,
kind of like a rom-com, only less cute.
Well, slightly less cute, right? So anytime that you see something labeled non-con, that's non-consensual. So if you start Googling that stuff, beyond the fact that you will absolutely fuck up your algorithms,
yes,
you will find yourselves in sort of this very dark hole of what is available on the not dark web, right? I work with a lot of projects that require some dark web activity, and so I am painfully aware of how depraved humanity is capable of being, but this ain't dark web shit. This is right out on the internet, very, very accessible to anybody with a browser. So this is the shit that needs to be shut down. Section 230 needs to be completely dismantled and rewritten. And in 2026, when AI exists the way it does, every last one of these platforms should be held accountable for what they're enabling on their platform. They should be held accountable for fact checking everything that goes on their platform, for ensuring that consent is taken care of, right? That they're not putting non-consensual material. And I'm talking about fucking Facebook. I'm talking about all Twitter. Like, every single one of these platforms are hotbeds for misinformation because they have no responsibility to stop it. Yeah. This is so much
broader. It all hard enough. Yeah.
And they've got the tools. They've got the tools because I've worked. So back in my, egregious capital extraction era, I've worked in BPO for 30 years, right? So business process outsourcing. Process outsourcing, right? So you call your Visa card, you're talking to someone in the Philippines, probably one of my employees. Like, that was what I did. But on the other side of that, one of the big chunks of work that has gone offshore is what we call egregious COMO, or egregious content moderation.
We have to stop giving cute nicknames to really gross things.
Right. Well, I mean, they do call it egregious, but COMO is adorable. But the fact of the matter is while what you do see available on Facebook and other things, what you don't see would absolutely horrify you. And they have the tools to take this stuff and put it through an AI filter and ensure, using all of their very expensive AI tools, to ensure that what you submit on a platform is factual, that it is consensual. And if they don't do this, if they don't take Section 230 down, they are responsible for enabling all of this bullshit.
100%. And if you look at the
sorry, that was very fancy.
It's okay. I linked some statements from Motherless and from their web hosting company in the Netherlands in my
they have no responsibility, right?
Yeah, they're just like, well, we have an AI tool, but we know it's flawed. And then we self-moderate. We have a little report tool, and we count on our community to report all the illegal stuff. So it's the biggest nothing burger of accountability I've ever seen. So,
but Facebook is just as complicit.
Of course.
Meta is just as complicit. X is even more complicit because Grok is a pervert. Like,
yes.
Like, you do something on ChatGPT and it's like, sorry, this violates our community standards. You go to Grok and it's like, I'll do it.
Yeah.
Well, and the other thing with ChatGPT, if you take that same really offensive request that ChatGPT wrote and put it into iambic pentameter, it will make it for you.
What? Are you serious? We just need to go Shakespeare on it?
Oh yeah.
Oh
Oh
my
yeah.
God.
That is so
You could
funny.
even have the AI write it. Can you take this and write it in
Could
iambic
you
pentameter?
rephrase this in iambic pentameter? Like, could you write it in a quatrain or a limerick? Like, it's like it processes.
Oh my God.
If it's distracted by one line of processing, it will do anything else you ask it to do.
Mm,
Yeah,
gross.
it's great.
Good old AI.
Love AI.
I love talking to you guys, and I'm also like, I think my shoulders are like,
You need a massage.
yeah, they're like
Yeah.
coming up over my ears of just like, oh my God, what world are our daughters coming into? And,
I hate to say it, but I stress people out. It is what it is.
Okay.
well,
All right. We'll go
knowledge is
outside.
important, whether it's stressful or not.
Yeah, I think that none of us are well served by ignorance. And we are in an environment where, not to go off on the tear of epistemic warfare, but literally the meaning of everything that we face is under attack. And
there
you know,
is no more Rachel quote than not to go off on the air.
not to go off on epistemic warfare, but yeah, that is very on brand. But
it totally
that's,
is.
we are in an epistemic war. When you have an entire party rebranding the One Beautiful Bill into the Working Families Tax Act, are you fucking kidding me? Like,
this has been an amazing conversation.
I hope Steve McFarland has dropped out of the chat. I don't want to use F-bombs in
I hope he's still here.
All
Hearing
right.
some serious truth.
Well, you guys are just amazing, and I love talking to you guys.
You too. You
I
too.
feel the exact same way. And thank you to Blue Amp for having us on for this very feisty feminist hour and almost hour and a half. The chat, like I keep, there's so many amazing comments going by that I can't even elevate a percent of them.
I crashed again, so I don't have any way to get back to it.
Yes, yes, I thank you guys. Thank you all for being such a big part of this conversation, and to Karen for moderating it. We could keep going. I know we are already 20 minutes over.
Yeah.
So I want to be mindful of everybody's time. I don't know. What do you think?
I can talk shit.
I gotta get going.
Someone's got to stop
have
me.
to get going.
I know. I think I do as well. But yeah, I feel like we should have some big concluding statement around the United States hates women.
Yeah.
This administration is simply elevating what was always in the underbelly. And the terrifying thing is that it's working, it's becoming legislation, it's impacting who we do and don't prosecute. And I saw there was a call for like, what can we do? This is part of what we can do. We can show up, we can educate, we can speak back to the cultural war that's being led online and add our own voices to it. You know, we can call our legislatures. I wish I had another magic thing of like, this is what we need to do and everything will be okay. I don't have it, but
something that I ask. This is what I ask of the men in my life. Don't just have an opinion and just be vocal about your opinion. Like it's a lot of like podcasting and listening to podcasts and being like, yeah, I agree with that. But like when you go to a protest, it's pretty much 90% women. You know, like show up at the things that make you have to get up and out of your house. Show up at the things that make you have to turn stuff off and go focus on something, write something, call somebody, do something, because it's mostly women doing that. And it's really great that the women are doing that. But until the men start doing that, then this conversation won't shift, because like women can yell all day long about like women, but we need men to be yelling on behalf of women as well, right? It's not going to change if the people in power are kind of casually living their lives while everybody else is kind of fighting over on this side. So like
100%.
I always say turn the podcast off and go do something. Like get out of your house and go do something. Go be uncomfortable, please.
Yeah.
So true. And if you are online and you're listening to the podcast and reading the stories and you see men or other people behaving badly, jump in, and especially men.
Yeah.
Don't leave it all on us to defend ourselves. And I'm going to do one pitch of like, subscribe to us. Karen is generously volunteering her time to moderate and is putting all these links in the chat. Like, follow and elevate voices who are putting people like us who are putting ourselves out there, because it's not super safe to do that right now. Speaking truth to power is hard. Follow Blue Ant Media, subscribe to Blue Ant Media too.
Yep.
They are giving voice to us. And
I
don't
want
know.
to throw out one other thing.
Yeah.
I've always said that in the same way that white supremacy is a white person's problem that requires a white solution, male violence is a man's problem that requires a male solution. But for every person who is interacting at the coach level, every person that is dealing with young men in the locker room, you could change this in a generation, right? Like I wrote a piece on sort of the idea that cannibalism is unthinkable today. It wasn't always unthinkable. There were entire cultures where cannibalism was just either an act of war or an act of like a funereal rite. And then it became unthinkable for a host of reasons, right? But they're in a world where we are faced with coercion every single day. How we get that to be unthinkable is to start with young people.
Yes.
And it has to start with young men in the locker room. It has to start with dads shouting from the stands, "Don't run like a girl," or whatever things that men shout to their children in sports. Like that's where it has to start. Because not that the grown men are a lost cause, but a lot of them are deeply steeped in the podcast manosphere. They're all caught up in that because it's a psyop. It's a well-funded psyop. Like the manosphere is a psyop. Andrew Tate is a psyop. And the reality is that those men are going to be much harder to reach than kids in the locker room. And if you want to make a change, go home to the t-ball team you're coaching, the kids baseball team you're coaching, the high school football team you're coaching. That's where men can have just an enormous, incredible impact.
Yes.
And that's the action y'all should be taking.
So make a difference in the lives of young men.
Yeah, exactly. Giving young men purpose ends the need. It ends the hold of the manosphere. Purpose.
And if you have boys, do it from day one, right?
Do it from day one.
I have 3 little boys who are heavily steeped in what consent means, and like they abuse it sometimes. They're like, "I'm sorry, I don't consent to you telling me to go to bed because this is my body," and I'm like, "No, that's not what that means." But like they know what that. I mean, they totally know what it means. They say, "Can I have a kiss? Can I have a hug?" Like they ask first. Like just start from day one. It's not real hard.
It's not real hard. It is so easy to teach young kids about consent. And I raised 6 boys. And they've been hearing rants about consent for 30 years.
Yep.
Because it's not, no means no is not enough. You have to have them understand how their own consent feels and then move forward from there.
Yep. Yeah. Exactly.
I love it.
All right, ladies.
So much fun.
And with that, shall we head into our 250th Go America weekend?
Yeah, I guess. We'll see how hot it gets. It is blistering out there right now, so.
It's hard to envision here from my little Pacific Northwest gray bubble today. It's like 60 degrees and cloudy and drizzly.
This is what I love about the Pacific Northwest. Oh my God, I love it so much.
I love it so much too.
The tyranny of the sun has ended.
Yes.
I love it.
Tyranny of the sun. I love that. So Rachel and I both have roots in Coral Springs, Florida. How weird is that? And now we're both in the Northwest. And hopefully next month are going to meet in person in Seattle.
Yes.
Good. Yay.
Yeah. The August 2nd.
Okay.
I'll send you the details.
Okay. And Ellie also has roots in the Northwest. So
yeah, I do.
One of these days we're all going to host a huge gathering.
Yes.
With Libby too.
Coffee.
Thank you, everyone,
right,
for
see you guys
joining
later.
us.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. I think, Ellie, you're